Hello everyone, welcome back to our math class. In this video, we are going to talk about how to create polynomial equations. We are going to use some information such as zero polynomial and the point on the graph, and we are going to combine this information to generate a polynomial equation. And this time we are going to introduce a new form of polynomial, and we are going to set up equation in that one. So now, to get the lesson started, we're going to have a quick review regarding some topic we covered in quadratic function. Let's have a look. So in quadratic function, we introduced different forms of the quadratic function, such as the first one, as we mentioned before, is called standard form. And in standard form, we just list all the terms from the highest one to the lowest one like we did in the past. And A, according to what we learn now, is actually leading coefficient, which is a number in front of the term with the highest exponent. And the second one is more important, linked to the lesson today. This one is called intercept form. And the reason we call that, because these two values actually link to the x-intercept. We also call them zeros. We also call them roots. They are all the same idea. So today we are going to extend this idea into the polynomial, because as we know, quadratic function is actually a special polynomial with degree of 2. So let's see. In polynomial, as we described in the past, if we write all the terms from the highest exponent to the least, and we list a constant in the end, we call this form as standard form. I just used a different letter to represent the general form for this, but it's actually ideal. So for example, 3x to 3 minus 2x squared and 1x minus 7. So as you can see, this is just a way to write it from the highest degree to the least one. And A here, of course, is our general leading coefficient. For second one is more important for today's lesson. We call this called factored form. Why we call this factored form? It's actually coming from the process called factoring. This one, as you can see, we break down original equation to the different parts, multiply them together, and this process is called factoring. For example, just like I can break down 24 as, 2 times 4 times 3. So these three numbers we call factors of 24. So this idea is the same thing. So this is called factor form, and again, the number here is still our leading coefficient, but each number, R1, R2, all this number represent as x-intercepts or zeros or roots. Okay, so with this definition, we can finally start to introduce how do we actually create the equation. And today, our equation are actually going to be described in this factored form. So let's have a look for the question we are going to work on. Okay, so the question is, we are going to determine the equation of the polynomial, and we know the roots, which is also zeros, are -1, 1, and -3. And also this one is going to passing through the point of this. So in the past, I don't know if you remember that, in the past we will talk about the intercept form. For example, when I know the 0 is 3 or -4, and if we want to write down the equation, then we know we have to flip the sign. Because these two numbers, when we plug into the equation, and they will make the equation as 0, so that's why we have to flip the sign. So please make sure this is what we mentioned before. So today we are going to use this idea to help us. So I'm going to write down the steps on the left side and also write down the solution. How do we do this on the right side, so we can easily to follow what we do. So step 1. First one, we are going to set up equation. But remember, we are going to set up equation in factored form, because that's the form we are going to use today. And this is an easy way for us to get started. So we set up equation in factored form, which is, because we have 3 roots here, and starting with A is one we do not know, then when we put in the roots, as you can see, we do have 3 roots. So I can set up 3 parentheses here. But when we put zeros back to the equation, we have to flip the sign, because that's the whole idea of zeros. As you can see, every single number, +1, -1, then +3. Next, we have extra information, which is the points. So we are going to plug in the value In the point, we know this is actually represent x, this is represent y. So we are going to plug in the values of x and y into equation. So this case, the 30 is not going to be, the y is not going to be y, it's become 30. But we still do not know a, but we do know x becomes 2. And the rest part is, we just copy everything, but remember this time, the x becomes a value of 2. So keep that in mind. I just try to use a different color so it's easier for you to follow this idea. What happened to y, what happened to x, okay? Now, step 3, very clear. Now we have equation in a different way because now we have only a as variable. We do not know, so we're going to solve equation. How do we solve it? We just need to finish the calculation. So we know 30 here, and a we still keep here. So 2 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. Sorry for that. 2 minus 1, 1. Then 2 plus 3 is 5. So everything here is actually multiplication. So we just simplify this as 30. 3 times 1 is 3. 5, 15. So 15a. Then in order to solve for a, we just need to divide by 15. So the answer will be 2. However, do not forget, we are not just solve for a. We need to determine the equation. So that's why the step 4 is the final answer. Write down the equation. That's actually the very important step, we often easy to forget because we just, we find an a, that's it. But remember, since we need to find the equation, so the final answer, we are going to write down the equation. So go back to the original equation here. Since we have everything here, but this time the a is not unknown anymore, it's actually 2, and equation plus 1 minus 1 plus 3, and that's our final answer. One thing I want to, readdress again, because this is very, very easy to make mistake because of step 1. Step 1, when we set up equation, please remember, when we plug in the roots or zeros into the equation, we have to flip the sign. Because the reason we call them 0, because this value plugged into the equation will become 0. So that's why we actually flip the sign to match to the location for this one. So the step is very easy to follow, but please make sure to avoid those common mistakes we might have. And that's it. That's how we create an equation from the given information here. Next time, we are going to discuss how do we determine the equation from the graph. See you soon, everyone. Thank you so much for watching the video and study this topic with me. Take care.